Hi everyone, welcome to our second video of gentle yoga from here at Auburn Yoga and Pilates. Although I'm actually at my house, I'm not at Auburn Yoga and Pilates, but I'm Jennifer, I'm the owner of Auburn Yoga and Pilates if we haven't had the pleasure of meeting. So thank you for the positive feedback from the gentle yoga video from the other night. I am glad that you enjoyed it. Today we are going to be doing another gentle yoga sequence. This one will focus a lot on the lateral body. Of course, we're going to do some other things, but we'll mostly focus on, moving and stretching our side bodies. So if there is something special that you would like to work on, please let me know, but otherwise I'm just going to keep chipping away. Okay, so we will get started. You want to find what feels like a comfortable seat for you. You may want to raise your hips and sit on a pillow or a folded blanket. You could also sit on a big folded beach towel if that's something that you have handy. We're going to relax our knees toward the floor. If you feel unsupported as far as your legs in this pose, feel free to put blocks or folded blankets under your knees for support. We will be sitting here for a few minutes. You want to relax your shoulders away from your ears and you want to lengthen up through the top of your spine, lifting through your crown. And then inhaling through your nose, all the air you can fit. Exhaling slowly out your mouth. And then again, inhaling through your nose, all the air you can fit. Exhaling slowly out your mouth. One more time, inhaling through your nose, all the air you can fit. Exhaling slowly out your mouth. Now try to replicate that breath with simply a nostril breath, if you can. So keeping the same depth of breath, but letting the inhale go through the nose, the exhale go through the nose. Of course, if you are suffering from allergies, feel free to breathe any way that works for you. And then trying to bring your attention to something that you would like to manifest into your day. Maybe today you need a little extra patience. Or maybe you need a little extra calm. Maybe you just need a little bit more presence. But picking one thing, and don't overthink, just, the first one that comes to you is probably the right one. And then you want to take this opportunity to try to visualize yourself obtaining what you just said you needed. Like the universe just granted you an immediate wish. So if you were saying that you needed some calm, imagining that a feeling of calm is just enveloping you. Or patience, or presence, whatever it was that you needed. And then just taking it in. What does that feel like? Visualize yourself going through the rest of your day carrying that calm or carrying that patience or carrying that presence, whatever it is. Really creating that picture. And then not just the visuals of the picture, but also adding any scents or sounds. Try to make this visualization as realistic as possible. And then notice how you feel, adding feelings to the mix. And then just staying here for 2 minutes. And then bringing yourself back into the room. Switching across of those legs, and as we've been starting off, and a few of the other ones, circling that spine. Spine circles and hip circles, something to sort of wake up your chakras every day. And then switching the direction. And then moving into some lateral movements. So really trying to bring your attention into that side body. As mentioned, we're going to try to pay a little extra attention to that side body today. So notice the little things. Where are you placing your bottom hand? Is it close to your hip? Is it far from your hip? Either is okay. They'll feel a little differently, but You try to find the place that's best for you. Your upper arm, some people like to reach straight up. And some people like to cross the midline. Crossing the midline will add a little bit more. Bringing the upper arm closer to the ear will add a little bit more. And keeping those arms, or at least that upper arm straight, will add a little bit more. If you want to take a little bit away, try adding a bend and try keeping that arm a little further away from your ear. And then holding it in the center and bringing it into an all fours position. So if you have sensitive knees and you're on a hard surface, you may find that you want to pat your knees with a blanket or a towel, whatever you have handy at home. Or if you're fortunate enough to have a yoga mat that meets your needs, then that should be perfect. Lining up those wrists so that they're parallel to the short end of the mat, and then let your pelvis spill toward the floor. Engage your abs just slightly, as though they were a safety net grabbing your internal organs. And then change the pelvis, lifting the top of the pelvis toward the ceiling, exaggerating, pressing down through your knuckles, through your fingertips and your hands. And moving between cat and cow. Again, lots of focus on waking up that back. Try to find a place that you're exaggerating enough that you're feeling a stretch through the front body and then a stretch through the back body. There's no specific pace. Move at a pace that works for you. And then holding a neutral spine and bringing those big toe mounds together and letting those hips fall back toward those heels. Now, if you have any knee flexion issues, you can put a towel or a folded blanket at your knee so that it minimizes the knee flexion. Otherwise, coming down, you can opt to reach the arms forward, you can opt to put your arms by your side, or you can opt to use your hands to prop up your forehead, whatever you prefer. So child's pose is a pose where you can choose to return to anytime you want to rest or regroup. Now really reach through those arms and then walk those hands over to the side. Focusing on lengthening through your side body. Now as you walk those hands to the right, it's likely that you're going to notice lengthening in the left side body, but what about the right side body? You also want to feel length through the right hand side. So maybe take that right hand and adjust it. Can you creep it a little further out? Can you creep it a little further right? How can you change that pose to make it more relevant for you? And then walking those hands through the center and over to the left. Same thing. So it's likely you're going to feel a side body stretch on the right side, but you also want to find that side body stretch on the left side. So feel free to move that hand if necessary. And then walking those hands back to the center, coming up into an all fours position. Now, from here, you're going to keep your right wrist under your right shoulder. and your right knee under your right hip. However, that right shin is going to go back like a kickstand. And you're going to come into a modified side plank pose. So with the exception of that back leg that's back like a kickstand to help you keep your balance, your body's fairly two-dimensional. Your wrists are stacked, your shoulders are stacked, and you're reaching those hands away from each other. Now, anyone who has any wrist issues, you could change this into a fist so that that lower hand isn't in flexion. Now make sure you're grounded through that left foot. And make sure that that back leg is far enough back that you feel steady. And then coming up into a modified gate pose. Now taking that left hand, sliding it down the leg, reaching that right arm up, finding that stretch through your side body. And now we'll turn this into a flow, coming down. Now you can continue to keep the upper arm vertical, or if you'd like, you can mimic that seated movement that we did and bring that arm by that ear. Inhaling, coming up. Now as you come up, you'll probably find that you have to engage those muscles in your lower leg to help you remain stable. And also engage those core muscles to help lift you up smoothly, because you want to try to float up and float down as much as possible. And the last one. And then taking that left hand on top of your left hip, lifting that leg and dropping that leg if you can, or just holding it here steady. So this move is probably more incorporated into a Pilates class, but does seem to fit with our side body focus. Hopefully feeling a little something in your outer hip and thigh. And taking it down and coming to rest in child's pose. So again, bringing those big toe mounts together, letting those hips fall back toward the heels. So child's pose is one of those poses that's uniquely able to stretch that sacral area at the base of your spine, that little flat spot. It tends to be a little cement-like in that area. So hopefully it feels rather delightful to get a stretch there. You can exaggerate the stretch by really exaggerating, allowing your sitting bones to move toward your heels. And then coming back up into an all fours position. And then taking those hands, and you have two options. Option one would be to walk your hands forward and come into puppy dog, keeping those hips relatively over those knees. Option two would be to bring your wrists slightly ahead of your shoulders, to curl your toes under, and to lift your knees and hips and press into downward facing dog. If you're in downward facing dog, you're trying to lengthen the legs, the spine, the arms, but sometimes that's too much. Prioritize the arms and the spine. Feel free to bend those legs if you need to. You can always bring length to them later. If it's too much, remember that puppy dog option that we just demonstrated. And exhaling, coming down into an all fours position. You can stay exactly where you are unless you need to turn to look at the camera. I'm going to spin around so that I don't have my back facing you. But basically we're going to duplicate that modified Vashisthasana, which is a side plank pose, and that gate pose. So this time, letting that left leg come back like a kickstand, reaching that arm up, extending that right leg and grounding through that right foot. Remembering that you can eliminate the wrist flexion if you need to. And then coming up into that modified gate. Slide the right hand down the leg. So some people, they'll be a little higher up. Some people will be much further down. Reaching that left arm up, bringing it rather close to the ear. And then flowing. So, letting your breath move you becomes like a little moving meditation. Thank you to whoever just sent some love. I could see it fly across the screen, but unfortunately, I'm too far away, and my eyesight is too poor to see more details. Next time, holding it down. Taking that hand, placing it on the hip, and again, really trying to stabilize yourself. Maybe staying here, staying steady is enough for you. Maybe coming up and balancing is a good place, or maybe flowing that leg up and down feels right. And holding it down, bringing it back into child's pose. So, as you may have found, that modified side plank into that modified gate pose is a little bit of work. Coming up into an all fours position. And then once again, you can come into puppy dog, stretching those arms forward. Or you can come into down dog. Either pose, you're lengthening the spine, regardless of which one you chose. And then coming back down into an all fours position. Now, it may be that you need your blocks for a little assistance. You don't need them, and remember, you can, use pretty much many things around the household as blocks if you don't happen to have any. So from an all fours position, whether your hands are on these stilts or not, you can step those legs forward, to come into a forward fold. So you can keep your hands resting on your blocks, or you can rest your hands on the floor. Try to let go of any tension that you may be holding on to in your neck. You want to keep at least a micro bend in your knee. Those of you who have tight hamstrings may have a little bit more of a bend. And then inhaling, heart forward, head forward. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhale, sweeping those arms up. So you want to ground down through your feet, letting those arms fall down by your side. You're imagining that you're growing roots through the bottom of your feet. Imagine that they're growing right into your mat, down through the floor. It sounds silly, but that imagery of really becoming rooted does really help you ground yourself. It's something that you can practice anywhere. No one will know. But if you're in a situation where you're feeling a little anxious and you really feel like you have to bring yourself back, simply try thinking about all four corners of both feet in contact with the mat, growing roots down to the floor. It is ideally better when you're barefoot than if you were wearing shoes and you were really out somewhere, but visualizing it would still be beneficial. Now inhale, sweep those arms up. Now, right hand grabs the left wrist and coming into a lateral stretch. So a gentle lateral stretch while you remain grounded through your feet. So try not to shift the balance in the feet. Try to keep the same positioning that you just had. Coming back up to center and then switching sides, same thing, other side. So that lower arm is encouraging the upper arm to grow longer and to come a little further over, but it's not pushing. Bringing it back to center, bringing those arms down by your side. So we won't go through full sun salutations. We'll do a modified, just a little half version of a sun salutation. So I'm just going to turn sideways so you can see what I'm doing. You do not have to turn sideways. So rooting down through those feet, inhaling, reaching up toward the ceiling. Exhaling, sweeping those arms down toward the floor. And then inhale. You want to slide your hands up your shins and lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sweep the arms back up. Exhale those arms down by your side. So trying that again. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Inhaling, heart forward, head forward. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhale, sweep those arms up. Exhale those arms down. Keep that going and move with your own breath. So truly a moving meditation. So I'm going to likely, at some point in the near future, do a vinyasa or a flow class. They usually tend to be a little bit more vigorous than this one, but the main concept of it is that you are moving with your breath like you are right now. And the next time you get there, holding it in a mountain pose. Now, if you have a block, you may want to set it up at the back end of your mat. If you don't have a block, again, you can use, a shoebox or something along those lines for support, as long as you don't lean on it too much. So stepping into triangle pose. So taking that right leg and stepping it back and coming into, with your feet, a heel to arch alignment. So you want your front heel to draw a line straight into the arch of the back foot. You want a fairly wide stance. You want to try to, you can see, and I purposely did it, that my rib cage is sort of squared off to the side of my room somewhere. If you're able to, you want to square your rib cage to the front of the room. You want to lengthen those arms. Now, notice how my side body is long and symmetrical on both sides. You want to maintain that. We're going to reach over and we're going to come down. Now, some of you may need a higher prop. Some of you may need to distance your feet a bit more. You saw that I just scooted out. You want to stack those wrists and stack those shoulders. Now, sometimes people end up like, I'm not sure if you can see because of my sweater, in a scrunched lower body position. You want to try to lengthen out that lower body. How do you do that? You move that left sitting bone toward that right inner arch, and you widen the stance of your feet if it isn't wide enough. So here we are, triangle pose. A little bit of a hip opener, but primarily a side body stretch. And then dropping that arm down and coming back up. Paralleling your feet, and then coming into a wide leg forward fold. So try to keep those feet parallel to each other, and then coming down. Now you may need your blocks, and you may keep your hands directly underneath you. If you're a little more flexible in your hamstrings, you may find that you start walking those hands back and letting the torso fall a little bit toward the floor. So basically finding that spot. If your head does rest on the floor, then bring your feet in just a little bit. And then walking those hands forward. And walking those feet into a place where you feel steady enough to lift back up to a standing position. So coming into triangle on the other side. So you may need to move your block, externally rotating your right leg. You want a heel to arch alignment. That left heel moves a little closer to the back of the mat. You've got a wide stance. You want to take your ribs, square your rib cage to the front of the room. Lengthen your spine, reach those arms. So feeling tall, feeling grounded, making sure that you're not lifting your shoulders up towards your ears. You're relaxing them down away from your ears. And then keeping that length in the side body, reach over, and it may benefit you to find a block or something block-like to lean on. And remember, if you're shortening your lower body, try to move your right sitting bone towards your left inner arch. Maybe widen your stance. If you notice, I'm going to correct myself in an improper way. If I'm too narrow, there's no way, I don't know if you can see, that I can lengthen that side body. It's just not going to happen. There's not enough space. I need to widen this stance to create the space so that I can lengthen that side body. And then dropping that arm, rooting down through those feet, lifting up, paralleling your feet, and then stepping those feet in toward the center. And then inhaling, sweeping those arms up, exhaling, sweeping those arms down, and coming into a seated position. So you can sit on your blanket, or you can sit directly on your mat. You may or may not end up wanting a strap. Remember that you can use any sort of belt or anything for these next poses. So, sitting up nice and tall, finding those sits bones. Again, if you're like me, you have to move the flesh around a bit to find them. And then taking that right leg in and that left leg out. And I'm mirroring you this time. I brought my left leg in, but you can bring in any leg you want. But say your right leg. Sitting up nice and tall. If you've lost it, try lifting up those hips. So even though our focus is primarily side body, we will do a couple, obviously we've done some other things, which we will do here. We will twist. So we're going to twist toward that front leg. Now, a little milder, keep your hand somewhere on your inside leg. A little stronger, take that hand to the outside of the leg. Let the hand press into the leg press back into the hand, and twist. So hopefully with your side body being activated, this is feeling maybe like it's a little easier than it sometimes is. And bringing it back to the center. Now, maybe taking that leg out a little wider. Now, there's all different variations of this next one. They say that this pose here is the strongest lateral stretch that we do in yoga. But don't worry, anyone can do it because it's easily modifiable. So what you can do if you just want a small stretch is take the hand behind the leg, reach the arm up. This is going to be your lateral stretch. Or you can keep reaching over to the side. Some people can take this hand and grab hold of their toes. I can sometimes do it on my other side, but as you've probably found, if you've ever practiced yoga, that your sides are not even. I'm not even close on this side. Try not to sacrifice the lateral stretch, though. Try not to fall into the pose. Now, if you get to a certain point, this is a pose where people can do it with their elbow down on the floor in front. I cannot, so I modify, I put the block there. And obviously you can adjust higher up, or just simply keep that hand down behind you. So breathing into that side body wherever you are. Maybe adjusting that gaze up toward the upper hand. If it's too strong, don't do it. And coming up. And then switching sides. So extending the leg that was bent, bending the leg that was extended, still sitting up nice and tall. Sometimes you have to readjust back to those sitting bones and twist. Inhaling really tall, exhaling into the twist, making sure that you're not collapsing into that twist. You'll lose so much space, so much of your twist. Try not to hinge back or hinge forward. Try to keep as vertical of a spine as you can. And bring it back to the center, probably making those legs just a little bit wider. And again, maybe you use the block, maybe you don't, maybe just place that hand behind you, reaching over, finding that lateral stretch. Maybe you can go over and reach for that toe. It's rather challenging. Just doing what you can. And you know, every day, if you practice this every day, well, okay, realistically, maybe not every day, but if you practice this frequently, you'll find that you do make little improvements. And slowly coming up. And extending both legs. Knees are upward facing. Just walking those hands forward. Maybe a little, maybe a lot. You decide. Find that place where you are comfortable. Feeling a deep stretch, but not an overwhelming stretch. Meaning you want to make sure that you can easily get up. And slowly walking yourself up. And then coming into a supine position on that mat. So just making yourself nice and long. Reaching those arms up over your head like you're an extended mountain, but supine. And then grabbing hold of your opposite elbow just over your head. Bring your legs toward the midline. Engage your inner and outer thighs. So it's not like it's, you know, work like you would do in, say, a strength class to bring those legs together, but you should feel like you have to put in a little effort. You have to think about keeping those inner and outer thighs engaged. Now from here, you're going to move your elbows and your feet to the right side. So if someone were looking at you from the ceiling, you look like a banana or crescent moon. You can decide which one you would rather be today. Pay attention to those legs. Are they still together? Now, if it's too strong, modify, yes, take them a little bit further apart. But if you're able to, you want to connect those legs, almost like you are a mermaid. And then same thing with your arms. Can you grab that opposite elbow? If it's too strong, grab closer to the wrist, but see what you can do. And then moving through the center and reconnecting those legs and coming into that lateral stretch on the other side. Keep drawing those legs toward the midline. Keep creeping those arms and legs toward the side. And then bringing it back to center and bringing yourself into a place for final relaxation. If you have difficulty, consider putting a rolled towel or blanket under your knees. If your back is tight, it may be difficult to lay in this position without a rolled blanket. A little earlier, we talked about how significant grounding your feet could be. This position is also very significant in grounding. Someone told me that they have actual grounding mats that people use to exaggerate this. But I personally feel like you can get so many of the benefits without any special equipment. Just allow yourself to be, just allow yourself to relax. Giving yourself that opportunity to surrender. We don't usually do that. Try it, see how it goes. Allow your legs to be heavy. Allow your arms to be heavy. Starting down with your toes, trying to completely relax those legs. Those thighs, those hips. The front of the torso, the back, the arms, the chest, the face inclusive of the jaw. If you want to stay a little longer in the final relaxation, just play this back and pause it. Otherwise, bending your legs, planting your feet. Rolling over to one side and lifting yourself up into a seated position. Lifting back up through the spine, creating that length. Noticing your breath. Noticing anything that feels differently than it did when we began this class together. And then connecting that energy, making a closed loop by connecting those hands together. The light within me salutes the light within you. And namaste. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you are all doing well and taking good care of yourself. Be sure to check out our other live stream videos. If you are watching this on the day that it is recorded, which today is March 19th, 2020, Sarah will be doing a live stream kids class geared towards children in 4th through 8th grades. So if your children are going a little stir crazy and they could use some yoga, please tune in to Sarah tomorrow. She will be live streaming at 6 p.m. And then of course we will put the video up in case you can't make that time. So again, take care and we'll be in touch soon.